like
Did that work?
Stop your share. Oh no! You're right. It's working.
Okay. Who would like to read first? Is that okay for you, Eugene?
Sure. Yeah. Or should we get Meher to read?
That might be nice.
You know, because it's
Oh, you want me to read some page? 1 minute. Let me get ready for it with my specs and all that. And then I have to go to my reading room. Save my husband from the noise. We just finished today. Okay, fine. I have to put on my video. I don't know.
Oh, I caught a glimpse of you. You're not the Meher that I was thinking you were.
I am Meher Krupa.
Yeah.
Okay. Which part of Mehera-Meher you are reading now? Which volume?
Volume
it's on
1.
It's on the screen.
Yes, it's volume 1, Meher.
You want me to read? Do you want me to read?
Yes,
go ahead.
please.
Yeah, so I need to know, this is page number 425.
Yeah, at the bottom. We usually read a little bit of the bottom.
Let me know your system. I don't know your system.
We
So
read the paragraph at the bottom, and then we go on.
I have joined from my mobile. I'm not on laptop or PC now. So is this volume number 1?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So 425, page number 425. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, fine. Meher Baba. 1 sec. Okay, fine. So 425.
Bottom paragraph. Nadine to be the matron.
Yeah, Jai Baba. Hope you understand what I read. Nadine to be the matron of the new maternity hospital. Even Mansari and Mehru Sawala to assist her in looking after the patients. A woman doctor would be coming daily, and a nurse was to be hired also. We go on for page number 420.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Norina, Elizabeth, and Noni to be in charge of the Meher Baba Journal with offices in the maternity hospital. Rano to nurse anyone from the women mandali who is sick and to be the house carpenter. Helen, a Swiss artist, to paint murals on the inside of Baba's tomb, assisted by Hedi, also an artist who mixed the paints. Those were lovely murals, original were. I remember them very well. Walu, as usual, I remember Walu too. I have met her. Walu, as usual, to clean Baba's cabin next to his tomb, where he had been in seclusion before they went to France, and which he was again using at night. There is a long story about this cabin. Padri has made this cabin. These are little, I hope it is okay. Though others were now living on the hill, some rules were still strictly in force. Sorry. Except for those working in the hospital or on the journal, no one was to step out of the compound without Baba's permission. Suna Masi was to ring a bell if she saw any animal coming up the hill, warning Mehera to get inside. Mehera was to go into the kitchen or the east room and stay there. If a man were actually coming into their compound, she had to put cotton wool in her ears to prevent her from hearing his voice. Marcy was to ring the bell again when the man left. It was more strict than a monastery money absolute. And of course, there was the primary rule, never to mention a man or anything male, especially in front of Mehera. Being new and having come directly from a family background, obeying this rule was the most difficult for the Jesawalas. Earlier, during Baba's birthday celebration in 1938, Baba had given Frenny the duty of carrying a stick and canning anyone who made a mistake. Frenny, I hope she was elder sister of Mehera. The Jesawala girls invariably slipped up and said something they should not have in front of Mehera. There were so many different orders not to do this and not to do that, Manu recalled. There were 3 different water chattis, one for Baba exclusively, one for the women Manjali, and one for visitors. We were not to touch Baba's things. It was an intimidating atmosphere, and we were always getting a whack from the cane, which Frenny was carrying. Now, at Meherabad, it was a little easier for the Jaisawalas since they had their own room on the west side. They were permitted to speak among themselves about the men of their family, but never in front of Mehera. As before, Mehera was never to be left alone. Mani and Khoshad appointed her everywhere, even to the toilet.
Wow.
Later, when Mehra's niece Meheru joined the ashram, she too was given the duty of shadowing Mehra, since by then only one person had to be with her instead of 2. Always one of us had to be with Mehra. Meheru confirmed, either Mani, Khoshat, or myself. If someone had to leave, they must wait for a replacement. Sometimes Baba would make it more difficult just to see how you would obey his orders. It might be very difficult for those who were accompanying as well. Okay, there is something like footnote. Khoshid
Yes.
was given other duties later and was replaced by Khaman Masi Irani, a middle-aged follower from Bombay who lived in the ashram for some time. After a few years at Mirazad, Baba said Mehra could be alone, but Mehra was in the room or in the kitchen all the time, never put in the open.
Thank
And
you.
shall I stop?
Yeah, I think that's sufficient. How would you like to who would like to continue?
I would.
Okay,
Joe.
Eugene.
So, top of 427. The title of this chapter continues to be Soaring White Tower. And someone was always to be within hearing distance of her if she should call. When Shrinmai came to visit, she had some advice for the newcomers. Don't address Merog as God, and do not garland him, for heaven's sake. That was, after all, her prerogative. But she continued, he will have pride. His ego will become inflated, and he will fall into the pit of arrogance. Baba heard this and declared, but I really am God. Shri Mai says, you may be God, but you are still my child. After all, I have given you birth. Have you given me birth? It was I who first gave you birth, and then you bore me. I was your mother in the beginning of creation, and now you are my mother. And Shireen Bai responds, how could you ever have been my mother when you harass me so much? Because of you, I can't show my face anywhere in Pune. Society ridicules me, and I have to keep quiet and put up with it. Baba says, but to bear it all is very good for you, Memo. To this, Shireen Mai did not reply, but instead changed the subject to the Jessawalas. Merog, do you have any sense? Why did you send for such a happy family? They are from a wealthy background. What will these poor dears' condition be like here? Baba replied, here they will learn what is true happiness and what is sorrow. At the PWD bungalow, Baba had given the women a discourse on happiness in which he stated, everything people do in the world is done to obtain happiness. When we gain God, permanent happiness is gained. Happiness based on self-forgetfulness alone leads to permanent happiness. To God, all other forms of happiness are fleeting and changeable. This real happiness must be very strong to enable one to support all the suffering that comes to one, or like that which I have to bear. And that's also in Lord Mayor Online, page 1929. As mentioned, Baba was quite strict in those days, especially with those staying with Mehera in the East Room. During one period, after Baba left their quarters, Sunamasi was to lock the bedroom door from inside, and under no circumstances was it to be unlocked until Baba gave a special knock at 5 or 6 a.m. Mani remembered that this special knock was something like 2 knocks, a pause, and then 3 knocks. And the sidebar says, when seated amongst them also, Baba often drummed his fingers in the same rhythmic way, as if to some tune only he could hear. An additional reason for Baba's concern, however, was soon disclosed. One night at 2 a.m., there was a knock at their door. Sunamasi asked who it was, but there was no reply. She was about to unlock the door when Walu reminded her of what Baba had said. The next morning, when they told Baba about it, he stated, if you had opened the door, you would have died. He revealed that the ghost of a soldier who had committed suicide in the water tank was responsible for the disturbance. The rule about not leaving the compound premises was especially difficult for those accustomed to having their own privacy. A few years later, when I wanted to be alone, Irene related, I used to plant trees outside the compound. I was allowed to go outside for this. I planted tomatoes and papayas, where the sweeper woman threw away our toilet waste. In parentheses, no one knew what the plants were being fertilized by. Kitty too was allowed to tell Vishnu the marketing, perhaps Rano. No one else except Narina, who left to give lectures and meet officials. When Margaret joined the ashram a year later, the lack of privacy was difficult for her as well. Never to be alone, I found very hard. Sometimes I went and sat in the deer's cage where they couldn't find me. While traveling, when Baba once said, sleep where you like tonight, I went to sleep on the roof to be alone. Usually, he said, you're in this room, you're in that one. That night it was late, and he said, sleep where you like. I went up on the roof just to get away from everyone. It was a flat roof. I spread out a bedding roll under the moonlight. I kept waking up at night thinking, how wonderful to be alone. I hadn't realized till then how wonderful it was to be alone, just occasionally. Though the women on the hill had many rules. Let me just read the sidebar before it goes away. Yeah. Irene elaborated, at home in Switzerland, if I didn't like something, I could escape. I would go for a walk, go horseback riding, or go upstairs to my room and shut the door, and my anger would subside. But with Baba, you couldn't escape anymore. He puts you together in one room with old ladies or with people who don't get along with each other. So you have to, could you scroll a bit, dear?
Yeah.
So you have to face each other. You can't run away. You have to be together. Back to the text. Though the women on the hill had many rules, little privacy, and a restricted diet, some things were unexpectedly allowed. There were no restrictions against smoking, for example. Nani smoked cigarettes and used a cigarette case and a holder. In Nasik, Ruano had enjoyed fine cigars, as did Helen. But Rano, who had smoked from the age of 16, had already quit while in Nasik. Mehera recalled the physical sacrifices the Westerners made to be with Baba. It's really wonderful that these well-to-do Westerners love Baba so much that they put up with so many inconveniences, living in one big room, beds next to each other, no privacy. They ate outdoors in the wind, dust and leaves blowing in their food. Nani was an elderly person. She used to walk down the steep outside stairs in her high heels. It was difficult for Elizabeth not to have privacy after being used to her own room in the West. Norina was part of the cream of society, always dressed fashionably, like a princess, with a strand of pearls around her neck. Here in the ashram, it was quite different. Mani added, Baba was like the landlady who told her new lodger after showing him his room. If there is anything else you want, just tell me, and I'll show you how to do without it. The Westerners had no privacy upstairs at Meherabad. They slept like schoolgirls in a dormitory, just a row of beds on both sides, with enough space in between to have a little table. Elizabeth's bed was in the corner next to Narina's. The only way they could have privacy was to wrap cotton saris on the mosquito poles around their bed, like a little tent, sort of an igloo or private hut of their own. Their beds became their private room. You could hear everything, but at least you weren't seen. Sitting on the bed, Narina wrote articles about Baba, and others wrote their accounts of coming to Baba. The women had a commode, a chamber pot, in their rooms for the night. But as Mani noted, no real conveniences, no facilities. There was a little bowl of water where you could wash your hands, but no bathroom. If one of them had to go to the bathroom, they had to come down these very steep stone steps. They were not young at the time. There were no banisters to begin with, and there is so much wind at Meherabad. Nani was afraid of being blown off the steps by a gust of wind. She would come down the steps in her high heels, hugging the wall. Although a railing was installed eventually, it would not have helped Nani, as the railing is taller than Nani was. Goodness. Padre had made it and scaled everything to his own 6-foot-plus frame.
No.
Elizabeth had a bad back, but every time Kippy wanted to ease herself, Elizabeth came down those steps, Mani continued. If they were upstairs and Baba came suddenly from down the hill, there would be a call, everybody, Baba wants everybody. So they would come down again. We realize now what caliber they were. Since Narina had been given the duty of preparing articles and talks about Baba, privacy was essentially for her. Mani told this story about Narina's wish to be undisturbed. One day, Baba suddenly came up from down the hill. We were in the East Room. The moment he came, the call went out. Everybody, Baba wants you. Everyone dropped whatever they were doing, whether they were cooking, washing clothes, drawing, painting, or writing, whatever it was. All would leave what they were doing, wash their hands, and rush to Baba. Baba told me to call everyone. I didn't know that Narina was in her igloo writing away, inspired. When she didn't come, Baba told me to see what she was doing. Mani went out and upstairs and found Narina. She came back and told Baba, "What's she doing?" "I don't know," Mani said. Go and give her this message. I went and told her, Baba is giving you this message. I came back to the East Room and told Baba. He sent me again with another message. Again up, I tell her. I come back. Each time Baba asked me, was she excited? Was she angry? The first few times she wasn't. But about the third or fourth time, she just let out, I'm writing for Baba. Don't you understand? On and on. Baba got a reaction from her. He wanted to stir up something. Go and tell her I'm calling her, Baba finally said. I couldn't believe it, Bonnie concluded. I went back, tiptoeing into the room. Narina, Baba wants you. And I ran back. She came. While she was working for Baba, Baba was working on her. Mansari was also given writing and translation work for the Meher Baba Journal, though Nani had to correct her English. Mansari was friends with Narina, but according to Mansari, Narina took what Baba said too literally and seriously, always trying to fathom what Baba meant by something. Why did he say that? She would ask. Baba called her his Western spiritual mother. Baba often stated that the time was near for breaking his silence, but Mansari told him, prolong your silence, Baba. Don't you want to hear me speak? He asked. No, she did not. Why? Because while she was working on the journal, Kitty gave her a typed discourse from Baba in which Baba stated that 12 months after he broke his silence, he would die a crucial death. Parentheses, be crucified. So Mansari always said no. Everyone is eager to hear me speak, Baba joked, but Mansari isn't. Mansari's brother was a lieutenant in the army, and sometimes Baba teased her by saying, look at your brother, an officer in the army, and what are you? Baba, he serves the king, Mansari once replied, but I am a servant of the King of Kings. Not servant, Baba corrected. Friend.
And there they all are at Krishna's birthday party. Gulmai, Rano, Kitty, Narina, Karshid, Mehera, Mani, and Nadine. And there they are in another picture of Krishna's birthday. And Baba has a long, in another picture of Krishna's birthday, Elizabeth, Mani, Mehera with a long plait, Khorshid, Kitty, Gai Mai, Mehru Jesarwala, and servants. It's hard to see this the Mehera has the long braid. And
maybe the servants are the ones with their heads covered.
Maybe. And there they are on a picnic near Aurangabad in 1938 in Ahmednagar. Kakabai, Walu, Mehera, Irene, Khorshid, Mani, Nadine, and Norina.
Kakubai is mother of Vishnu Master.
Oh, Okay. Picnic near Aurangabad and Ahmednagar in 1938. Rano, Mani, Khorshid, and Mehra. And of course, Baba. Ahmednagar picnic, 1938. Khorshid, Mehra, and Mani. Ahmednagar picnic in 1938. Sunamasi, Helen, Naja, Mehra, Khorshid, Ranu, and Baba with Kippy. Ah, that's a beautiful picture. Meherabad, 1938. Okay, who would like to pick up? Chapter 41.
I can read next.
Okay.
A bell was sounded on Meherabad Hill every morning at 5 a.m. for all to wake up. Sunamasi waited outside the compound gate for Baba to come from his cabin on the hill, and she escorted him to the kitchen. When Baba had breakfast at 6:30, he joked with the women, asked about their health, and inquired whether they had slept well and had any dreams. At 7 a.m., he went down the hill to the mosques. Lunch for the women was at 11 a.m. and was eaten under the new tin shed at the back of the water tank building. Food was kept on a sideboard and everyone helped themselves. Each had a small wooden stool with her name underneath, made especially by a carpenter, courtesy of Elizabeth. Some had low stools made, while others, such as Elizabeth, who did, I lost my place here. While others, such as Elizabeth, who did not like to squat, had higher ones built. At first, they had to hold their plates, often very hot, on their laps. But later, 2 long, higher benches were brought that served as tables. The tin shed was completely open with nothing to block the strong winds of Meherabad that blew clouds of dust everywhere. Tata sheets were erected on the eastern and western sides, which helped a bit. But in addition to the dust, they had to contend with flies, mosquitoes, and other flying insects. Baba had his lunch at 10:45 a.m. with Mehera and Mani in their room on Mehera's bed, where Mehera had spread a large tablecloth. A basin and soap were brought, and Baba washed his hands over the basin as Mehera poured water from a large jug. After lunch, Baba either sat with the Westerners outside or called everyone inside Mehera's room. Sometimes we gathered around Baba outside the East Room, which was shady, Meru Irani related. Sometimes Baba walked to his future samadhi and sat with his back against the eastern wall. We gathered on the same platform outside the tomb under the shade of a pipal tree, which had to be chopped down later as its roots were damaging the samadhi. And on the side, Mehera and Mani usually served Baba first and then ate. Sometimes, if Baba was late, they ate before he came up the hill. And scroll down.
I'm trying.
Oh, okay.
I just have to close something. And I can't find the cursor. Oh, I found it. Oh. That stopped the screen sharing. Well, I'll just have to get it again. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, that's not it. That's a screenplay I'm writing. I'm sorry, I can't find the cursor.
That's okay.
I'm going to go back to the square one. I have technical challenges. I'm going to go back.
Is the book on the Avatar Trust website?
I don't know.
Let's see.
I found it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where you were.
Uh, the let me see.
The tin shed was completely open.
Down at the bottom of the page. I read the side. I read the side.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, here it is. Baba gave many informal discourses to the women during this period. Irene related, in the afternoons or evenings, we sat around Baba, either in the girls' room or under the shed, where Baba explained many subjects, love, sanskaras, etc. But many times, as I sat near him, I did not hear what he said because I felt so overwhelmed, so filled with Baba's love, a love that only gives and never takes. Surely, I thought, the others must be feeling the same way. About divine love, Baba gave the example of Ayaz, who was so devoted to his master that he would destroy a priceless pearl at a word from him. If you want to be worthy of my love, be like Ayaz. But at the moment, you are not like Ayaz, but like piyaz, onions. Because every time I handle you, I weep. Baba also compared the women to garlic, as Irene recalled. If some of us were moping, Baba would often say, don't put on garlic faces in front of me. Baba quoted the following. Baba quoted the saying, "Laugh and the world laughs with you. Weep and you weep alone." And then told the women they had a duty of looking cheerful. If you don't want to be old before your time, be cheerful indeed. Oh, I'm sorry. My veterinarian is calling. I have to stop reading.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Could somebody take over? Rosalie?
I can read, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to start here. Baba quoted the saying because I like it. Laugh and the world laughs with you. Weep and you weep alone. And then told the women they had a duty of looking cheerful. If you don't want to be old before your time, be cheerful indeed. Thought, word, and in appearance. Most of all, in appearance. Because you are not happy. Maybe you are not happy inside. Perhaps gas in your stomach, but you must look happy. I always find half of you garlic face. When you eat garlic, it is a smell passed on to all. So when you appear garlic face, that too is catching. It is contagious. It is a divine art to always look cheerful. It is a divine quality. It helps others. When you are garlic face, it makes others unhappy. I'm going to do the sidebar.
Yeah.
Can you load there? From the Ella Wheeler Wilcox poem, Solitude, Wilcox had an interest in theosophy and heard Swami Vivekananda lecture at the Vedanta Society in New York. If you take me as God, God's word must be your everything. You must follow my word with all your heart. If not, then it is just an everyday topic. You take me as God, but you do not follow me as God. As Baba had pointed out during the fun on Krishna's birthday, by staying with him, they could either develop familiarity and try to make Baba like them, or love and try to become like Baba. In feeling that Baba was one of them, they naturally had a less reverent attitude. Still, Baba wanted them to be aware all the time of who he really was. For instance, the women had to be conscious never to yawn in front of Baba. Mani said, whenever I yawn, I remember Baba saying, "What, in front of me doing this?" And he gestured with both hands, like opening a crocodile's mouth.
Ah,
The war was inevitably a topic of conversation. And in answer to questions about that and the necessity of suffering, Baba said, war is no special suffering. Don't people suffer all the time? It is universal suffering which leads to war. People suffer because they are not satisfied. They want more and more. This war is necessary suffering. But most of the world's suffering is unnecessary and self-inflicted. Spiritually, everything but God is zero. Therefore, spiritually, war and peace are nothing. But externally, war is the most dreadful thing. Unless war were absolutely necessary for the spiritual upheaval of the world, I would never allow it. I would never allow a war to be. Never. But it is absolutely necessary for spiritual reasons. They did not always talk of serious and somber issues. Sometimes they listened to music on the gramophone that the screenwriter, Garrett Ford, had brought to Nasick. The Westerners had sent some records, and Baba himself brought back some from his earlier trips to the West. Baba was very fond of African American spirituals and had them played repeatedly. Paul Robeson was an especial favorite. Baba particularly enjoyed his rendition of Old Man River and the Battle of Jericho. Wait a minute. Wait, something came. Okay. Jericho means frog in Gujarati, and when Gulmai, who sometimes stayed for a few days, heard the Battle of Jericho, she made Baba laugh by wondering why a song about a frog was being played over and over. Baba also enjoyed Spanish music. When the song La Cucaracha, the cockroach, was played, he recounted the tragic story of a Spanish singer who was stabbed by one of her two lovers. He also liked the peanut vendor. They had the English version also, and a spirited mariachi number, Negra, because of the touching voice of because of the Baba was most particular about the voice. I skipped here, wait a minute.
Touching voice of the singer Mario Visconti.
Yeah, he liked Mario Visconti. And then where's the sidebar?
I don't see a sidebar.
I don't know, we'll skip it. Baba was most particular about the voice, Mehera noted. The voice either touched him or it didn't. Baba liked Spanish, Latin music because of the castanets and the lively beat. He kept time on his knee. Because of Bing Crosby's voice, Baba liked Lullaby and Good Night, which had music by Johann Brahms. And there's another footnote. I'll read about Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson was an interesting and tragic figure. The name Paul Robeson conjures up images of booming laughter and deep voice song, physical and emotional vitality, intelligence, and an indomitability of spirit. An All-American in football and elected in Phi Beta Kappa. At Rutgers, Robeson graduated from Columbia University Law School, starred in 2 important plays, launched himself as a singer in New York with a concert of spirituals that introduced to the world one of the most mellifluous voices of the century, and left an unforgettable screen impression with pictures such as Showboat and the Proud Valley. Then, at the height of his international fame, Robeson began to speak out in defense of radical socialism and the rights of Black Americans. For this audacity, he was not only shoved off his pedestal, but also hounded into an abyss of mental instability from which he never escaped. The Washington Post February 1989. Baba and the women saw two of Paul Robeson's films, King Solomon's Mine, 1937, and Sanders of the River, 1935. The latter coincidentally written by another of Baba's early favorites, Edgar Wallace. Okay, where am I? I think we're a little higher, yeah. Kowali, yeah. Okay. At times, Baba listened to a few of Norina and Elizabeth's classical records, but generally, Baba didn't care for classical music. He preferred something lively with rhythm to it, especially kawalis. Kawali music can be described as an intensely passionate way of praising God, combining the spontaneity of jazz with the spirituality of gospel. Among kawals, Baba enjoyed listening to records of one particular singer named Baikula Kawal. Baba even called the man to sing before him, but he was unable to come. Instead, another singer, Piyaru Kawal, accepted Baba's invitation and performed before him. According to Mehera, after this, Baikula Kawal disappeared from the scene. He did not record anymore, and his popularity waned. Well,
You didn't read the note about Bing Crosby.
Okay. They had other Bing Crosby records, but Baba only asked for Lullaby and Good Night, also known as Brahms' Lullaby, which was released in May 1941 on Decca Records. The flip side, You and I, Baba also enjoyed. He liked the Bing Crosby, Bob Hope movies as well.
Okay, you can continue.
Baba also liked Hungarian rhapsodies and Hawaiian guitar music, whose melodies Mani copied on her sitar. Of popular music, he likes The Umbrella Man and Mad Dogs and Englishmen, and Beat Time to the Rhythm. He also liked the voice of tenor Richard Crooks, and often played his Mystery of Life and the Song of Songs. The sidebar says, Mad Dogs and Englishmen, Noel Coward, 1932. Mad dogs and Englishmen go out in the midday sun. The Japanese don't care to. The Chinese wouldn't dare to. The Hindus and Argentines sleep firmly from 12 to 1. But Englishmen detest a siesta. Cold Porter. Okay. Okay. Ave Maria and the Isle of Capri were favorites. And for a time, Baba had the latter played almost every night. He explained that it was actually about a man who loved a saint named Teresa, not the one from Avila, but saw on her finger a gold ring, symbolizing her being wed to Christ. And the sidebar says, Ave Maria, based by the French composer Charles Gounod on a piece by Bach, was inspired by Jesus's mother, Mary. Mehera's personal favorites were a Cole Porter song, You're the Top, and Louise by Maurice Chevalier, in which she inserted Baba's name. Every little breeze seems to whisper, Baba. She disliked the Battle of Jericho. Sometimes at dinner in the evenings, Mehera and Mani joined the others under the tin shed. Baba ate with them, sitting on his gadi, which had been moved from Mehera's bedroom. Other times they put the gadi under the arbor by the kitchen and listened to music there under the stars. During one period, the women performed arti in front of Baba every evening. A kerosene lantern was lit, and all stood silently around him. Gulmai held the arti tray, which Sunamasi had prepared. Only the Gujarati arti, Bujavem Nar, was sung. Afterwards, Baba rose and embraced Mehera first, and then each one individually. They wished him good night, and he told them to sleep well and be happy. They followed him to his cabin. Sunamasi held a lantern to light their way. Baba stood near the gate inside their compound. Mehera never stepped out and again said good night. The women then returned to their side. A bell was rung at 9 o'clock for all to be in their rooms getting ready for bed. Baba liked to give little surprises, though. One evening, instead of good night, he spelled on the board, Tata. Another time, Baba lifted Mehera 4 inches off the ground while embracing her. Mehera remembered one occasion when Baba was especially sweet to her. Baba hated to have a cold. If anyone in the ashram had a runny nose or a cold, they were told to keep away from Baba and from everyone else. Baba didn't want the cold to spread. Once it happened that Baba was to embrace me and say goodnight. I said, Baba, I have a little bit of a sore throat. Is it okay? Very sweetly, Baba said, it's okay. It doesn't matter. And he embraced me. One night, while embracing him, Mansari put her arm around Baba's neck and leaned her entire weight on him. Baba did not like to be hugged this tightly, and as a result, he stopped embracing everyone. From tomorrow, he announced, nobody must embrace me. No one except Mehera. She alone may do so. Mani was so distraught that after a few days, Baba agreed to hug her also, but no one else. Mehera and myself would be alone in the East Room at the end of the day, Mani said. When everyone else had gone, Baba would, I need a new page, Baba would put out his cheek. After Mehera, I kissed him on the left cheek. Then Baba embraced me. The only opportunity others had to kiss Baba was on his birthday or on theirs, and once in a great while in certain circumstances. Perhaps this new situation had been prompted by Mansari. Baba was preparing her even then for the isolated role she was destined to play, pushing her away to eventually draw her closer. During this time, Baba gave to Mansari and asked, have you finished your breakfast? No, she replied, I am in the middle of it. Finish it and come and see me. When Mansari joined him, he said, let's go for a stroll. He took her hand and they started walking. It's all mine, he said, gesturing around him. Do you like it? The whole universe is mine, but this place, Meherabad, is especially mine.
Mm.
They walked inside the compound and Baba repeated, it's all mine. Then he said, suppose one day I leave here for 12 months and take everyone with me. I will give you provisions for 12
Well,
months. Will you stay? Tears rolled down Mansari's cheeks. I have not come here for that, Baba. What? You were crying? I don't like crying. I cracked a joke with you, but I think you don't like my jokes. I love your jokes, Baba, but this is not a joke for me. It's a bomb. I don't like this, Baba scolded, indicating her tears. Are you a woman? No, you are not a woman spiritually. You are a man. Only women cry. You are not a woman. But as Mansari continued to cry, Baba said, okay, I won't crack that joke with you anymore because you don't like it and you cry. It was just a joke. Now forget it. Mansari reflected later that Baba had been preparing her to stay on Meherabad Hill without him. This incident occurred in September or October 1938. 11 years later, when Baba announced the new life, it came to pass. Khorshid's mother, Sunamasi, was the shortest woman in the ashram, even shorter than Mansari. And Baba loved to tease her also. But he pinched her as if she did something that annoyed him or that he disapproved of, such as arguing with him. Sometimes she even got a bruise from it. Baba's sign for Sunamasi was a kangaroo because something in the spring of her walk reminded him of a hopping kangaroo. After seeing the film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, however, Baba began calling her Sneezy because she had a very loud sneeze. If Sunamasi were heard sneezing, Baba sent for her and imitated the motion of her sneeze to the delight of all. Masi, why are you so small? Baba once asked her. You need to scroll a little bit there.
yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah. I don't know, Baba, she laughed. You made me this way. Next time, make me taller. Even in Guru Prasad, years later, Baba said to her, I can't understand how Kaikush Rumasa chose you as his wife.
I think we should stop there.
Oh, let's hear the end of that one, though, Tina.
Okay.
Yeah, Kaikushru had been tall, slim, and good looking, but Masi was a good sport. She folded her hands and told Baba, next time, don't make me so short. It's so inconvenient. I have to call people to help me reach things on the top shelf. Sunamasi was kept busy supervising the servants in the ashram, but her primary duty was as the gatekeeper of heaven. She had been instructed to sit in the small room under the elevated water tank outside the picket, later metal gate, at Upper Meherabad to keep watch for anyone coming up the hill. After Baba had visited the women on the hill, Sunamasi accompanied him to the railway tracks, which the men Mandali were prohibited from crossing, and she walked down the hill again to receive Baba when he came back for lunch. Sometimes on a ceremonious holiday or an auspicious occasion, Sunamasi broke a coconut when Baba came up the hill and was received by the other woman. Once, Sunamasi did not come down to greet him, and Baba walked up the hill alone. When he went to find out what had happened, Sunamasi told him that there was something wrong with her eyes. Baba covered her eyes, led her inside the east room, and told her not to get out of bed until the next morning. Sunamasi had cataracts and other complications, and she was worried that she would go blind. But Baba assured her, "I promise that you won't be blind." 12 years later, during the new life, Sunamasi went to a doctor to have her cataracts treated. The doctor said that if she had come even one day later, she would have lost her sight.
Wow.
Baba had kept his promise and her vision was saved. Ironically, Baba had chosen as his gatekeeper someone who was not only extremely small, but who could barely see.
Wow.
Shall we just end it there, I guess? Because it a little bit. Since Sunamasi had to sit most of the day by the gate with nothing to do, Baba had Mani teach her English nursery rhymes and a few short poems that she was to learn by heart and repeat to Baba. Mani had her own work to do, but she dutifully sat in front of Sunamasi and said slowly, "Polly, put the kettle on, kettle on, kettle on." Masi, who did not speak English, repeated, "Polly, put the kettle on, kettle on, kettle on." Not ketline, it's kettle on, Mani said. Once when Masi entered the east room to give a message, Baba asked the women this riddle in Gujarati. One engine has two compartments. It is traveling to an unseen land. One compartment is empty, and in the other is God. No one could guess the answer, which was Sunamasi. Her coat had two pockets. One was empty, and in the other was her rosary, which she fingered while repeating Baba's name. That pocket was always moving, said Mani. There might have been a squirrel in there.
Ah,
The women were delighted with the riddle. Baba said it so spontaneously, Mani continued, and in Gujarati it rhymes so sparklingly. Well, there's a lot about Sunamasi.
yeah. I
Shall
didn't know
read
that
a
much
little?
about her.
Yeah, she was Korsha's mother, so she had been with him in the early days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, we can continue next time, but there's a little bit more about her.
You want to read it?
Sure. When Baba was down the hill in the afternoon, Sunamasi took a nap in her room, as she did not have to be by the gate. Although she was snoring, if the others called her name, she answered, "Yes, I heard every word. I'm not sleeping." And she got up immediately.
Yeah.
Baba didn't like people resting in the afternoon, Mani noted. I still remember when he came in the afternoon unexpectedly and someone was lying down asleep. Baba put his fingers to his lips and took out a handkerchief from his pocket. He twisted one end and slowly dropped it over their head until the slightest bit lightly touched the tip of their nose.
Uh,
That person,
Okay.
usually Tsunamasi, twitched her nose, thinking it was a fly, and made all kinds of faces. We weren't to laugh aloud. After a while, he did it again. After the third or fourth time, the person got so angry and woke up and found Baba there. Then there was such laughter.
Okay, I can think we can stop there.
Yeah.
How do I turn off the recording?
Yeah, I don't know. Where's Eugene? Is Eugene there? Eugene, he's still there. Eugene.
Yeah.
How do I turn off the recording?
I think if you go to those three dots on top.
I don't have three dots.
Oh,